You know what?
Oh,
I need
It's
to
fucking-
legally check in. I need to legally check in about whether or not I can publish that Morgan Stanley document publicly. I need to just call my lawyer and just fucking ask about that.
That would be
because-
fire if you could, mate. Because when for anyone who doesn't know, I actually retweeted one of those
Was that Morgan Stanley
XCD
report or Goldman
cartoons.
Sachs?
No, it was the Morgan Stanley one. Was the one that prompted like the Overwatch investment.
The one that
Yeah.
was just egregiously
That
like.
was the one that
made
was
up
like
numbers.
10K
Okay,
to buy.
yeah.
Well, basically,
Morgan
what they
Stanley.
did was I actually retweeted an XCD comic that is along this line, where what happens is in the comic, right? There's a guy who's talking to a woman who's just got married, and so he has a graph, and he says something like, at this rate, you'll have 14,000 husbands in 2050 or something. Because obviously the logic is, in that span of time, she's got married once, hasn't she? If you make that exponential growth, that's basically what those reports were like.
Yeah.
Like they literally would do like the maddest detail. This is when I knew esports was a scam. Was when it actually clicked with me last year that Blizzard could count the buy-ins to the league as revenue and therefore take that revenue figure and say that this was the revenue and then extrapolate that out as well. So it all just builds into itself. It's like the scam never ends. It just gets more and more powerful unless it completely falls apart.
And didn't they like the same kind of thing, draw out merch and how merch in the NFL is and how then therefore it'll be just like that in the Overwatch?
As soon as anyone
does
does this,
jerseys they'd sell, it was
like
just
I learned this from the early days of esports. As soon as anyone uses this attempt at like a point, you know they're full of shit. When they go, I have X amount of viewers, customers, whatever. As soon as they go, if I could just get each of them to give me $1, that alone would be, and because whenever they say that, by the way, for anyone listening, that means almost certainly that business is one where 99% of people wouldn't give them the $1. That sounds like they're making a reasonable compromise. They're actually making an absurd one, but like framed as that, because that's what they used to tell me in the early days of esports. Like the owners of sites would be like, look, as soon as microtransactions come in and we're able to get even 5 cents from each viewer for each hit, you're going to be making a full-time salary. It's like, I can go ahead and tell you guys that never came.
So much insane stuff in that report, and I think you've seen it. But like, so first of all, comparing it to the WWE, just complete madness. Saying WWE makes this with this many viewers, so
a fucking pay-per-view sport.
Yeah. So if we have this many viewers, exactly, and it's been around for fucking decades, So there was that, and then the other thing that's just grotesque about it was the whole boasting, saying, and look at the opportunities for revenue we can get from wrecking players. And they said in the NFL, 54% of revenue generated ends up in players' pockets. In the NBA, it's 52% goes to player pockets. In MLB, it's 46% goes into player pockets. But in Overwatch League, just 10% of the revenue generated will go into the players' pockets because of the comparative nature of esports. Isn't that great? We can actually keep that 90%. Yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute.
I have a copy of this too. So you're nervous about like them coming at you?
Because it was commissioned. It changes the legality of it. I think because if you have a privately commissioned study that you control and have only distributed to select parties, the person making that information public, I think, might be legally liable under the grounds that it's property. I think. So
it's you can't even hide's the wrong word, but like your journalistic world. Like if I'm not a journalist.
Yeah, so I can talk about the document because I was made privy to it, but I cannot release the document in its entirety.
The actual source.
Yeah, because that is a paid-for document I was commissioned. Now that's my understanding of the law, but it might not be true. That might be completely incorrect.
I mean, it's one of the biggest pieces of fiction I've ever read in my life.
Well, exactly. I mean, it is
just amazing.
Yeah.
Like when I got sent to it, I was like, "You're trolling me, right? This is like a onion deck. Someone is having a fucking piss, as you guys would say." Like,
taking the piss.
Like,
taking the piss.
It's gotta be real.
Like part of the problem with that, Scoots, is even the people who themselves aren't like overt con artists. So there's people who run numbers and their whole job is coming up with stats and figuring out metrics. Even the people I know who are very reasonable, if I ask them privately, even they still go with that angle of like, well, who really can know how much revenue someone would make? It's like they've just mind fucked themselves and they think this is all fine, Yeah. They don't realize you are literally selling someone a false bill of goods.
Yeah, and if this is the dream you want to back, those numbers are real, man. Those numbers are actually probably conservative in all reality, folks. You know, they could be even higher.
Overwatch League cannot get Overwatch players to watch their league. And now they're like, oh, maybe we'll leapfrog people who would actually buy our game and have the general audience watch a game that has 30 heroes and 4 map types. That is very hard to explain, and we'll have to do an explainer video every round if we really wanted to get a general audience. And we're not going to put any investment into doing anything to build player storylines or interest to get a general audience. But no, it's fine.
Yeah,
sadly, that was actually one of the first things when I saw Overwatch as a game that I actually suggested, and every single person I ever suggested it to just shot it down as looks like a stupid idea, which was like, why are you using all the game modes? I was like, the first thing I said. I was like, how much more difficult it's going to be?
It's like, if you wanted to do just payload, it made sense. It was an objective. You had goals. You had that.
Oh, there's a lot of options you could have gone with. Yeah, it doesn't have to just be the one that I like, you know. Yeah, there's plenty you could have gone with.
It would have made things way easier to do for an audience and such, but it's a marketing ploy. It's not a league, so you got
like I've always thought the thing that
got to show it all, man.
Right.
Show the car off.
The thing that is impossible to get a casual fan to understand is that there were certain matches where the team that was going to play on, I think it was King of the Hill Control was always the decider, right? Like, if you didn't know that this team was way better on Control than the other team, you might think, oh, this is an amazing game. Look, it's a close game. It's going down to the last one. It's like, well, no, actually, they're basically going to lose.
It's already over. Yeah,
like, you don't know it, but this is like at the end of the NFL game. We just play, like, you know, a quarter of hockey, and the other team doesn't play hockey, so they've lost.
Yeah, or like, you know, the final Counter-Strike map is the map that the other team always bans.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, right? It's like, this is not going to be pretty. It might be over quickly.
So I think one of the funniest parts about that document was when it was talking about esports merchandising, and it said that basically it had 3 cases, which was for success. So in everything it talked about the bear case, which is like the worst case scenario in their mind, which is still grossly overinflated to where it is. The base case, which is where they believed it would come out at, and the bull case, which is if it is...
The bull one was mental.
Yeah, and the bull one is insane. So in their base case, this is where they genuinely believed Overwatch to be. They said that 50% of Overwatch viewers will buy in-game items relating to esports. And that the average spend per fan will be annualized to $65 per person.
It's not Hearthstone, for Christ's sakes. It's Overwatch.
It's like, no fucking way! There's no fucking way! You're telling me that 50% of people who watch Overwatch will have an annual spend of $65 related to esports. This isn't even the cosmetics. This is the esports related stuff. No fucking way! There's no way, guys. You're out of your mind.
Puff, puff, give on that one, man. Pass it over. It must be good. You're high.
This is what I mean. Like, this study that they did, it is fucking pie in the sky. And I remember at the time, you know, I got phone calls from some of these VC groups because, you know, I actually did do some paid consultancy work in the interim. And I had a couple of phone calls with some big heavy hitters, and they were going like, you know, we understand that, you know, you're a journalist in the scene, you know, you seem to be very, like, blunt in your views, so we wanted to talk to you about this Overwatch thing. And I'm like, listen, guys, if you've read that Morgan Stanley report, same as I have, let me tell you, that is like, you know, we'll just fill in the used car bodywork with poly filler, we'll roll the clock back a little bit, and here you go, you got a brand new sports car, homie. I'm like, it is fucking nonsense. It is nonsense. I mean, you only had to look at, like, there was data coming out when Riot Games first started selling stickers or whatever, in-game little avatars or whatever the fuck. The percentage of people buying them was minuscule compared to their overall player base. That would be a data point you could use. 50% of people doing an annual spend of $65 with a minimum of $6 a year is fucking bonkers. And that's what it says in this study. And they were like, yeah, that's kind of our feeling as well. Like, you know, there's sports fans that don't spend in that kind of numbers.
Yeah, just everything was drawn out logically, illogically. Like, it sounded good. Like, if you had no idea, the numbers were great, but it was just, house of sand. Like it just
let me tell you,
I hope you could do a piece on it, because it would probably open a lot of people's eyes as to what was sold to the unknowns who believed it. A lot of them, right? Like, geez, sounds good. Look, Morgan Stanley's got their name on it. Holy fuck, gotta be legit.
So in the bull case, I think it was fucking like $8 or something, but like $8 per player it averaged out at. With again, I don't even know what the annual is, but it was higher.
You know who would be funny to talk to? It would be to give Tommy this report. And because now
you
he's
say
gone...
that, mate, but that's part of the reason why I'm not really that close friends with him anymore, mate. He's
definitely gone down the franchise route. Like, he's drinking the Kool-Aid over there because
who's that?
It'd be interesting if he could take that hat off and just go back to his investment banking hat and read this document.
All I need is this. Look, all I need is the Lurpus that tweets about Tesla to do the same exact critical eye onto the Overwatch League, and it's over. This guy even has the background in finance.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. Like, I want that Tommy, right? I want the critical Tommy to read this thing.
Replace of all the words that say Overwatch or Blizzard, to change it to Elon Musk and Tesla, and then have get this report, and then he'll give you a good.
And by the way, that's even
he would go. They said what? They projected what? You know.
Well, that's even a good analogy, because remember, the reason why people support. Argue against what he says about Tesla is on grounds that have nothing to do with the case, right? So they're like, well, I like Elon Musk, or like, wow, you're just that jealous about the car, or, you know, have you ever tried driving one? It's like, they do the same thing with the Overwatch. Wow, what, so you hate esports, you want it to die, do you? Like, well, no, actually, some of my best friends work in Overwatch League, you fucking moron. Well, I have more reason to want it to succeed than you guys.
Yeah, so and that's just it, right?
I'm on the same boat with Scoots, and I don't want the league to burn. Like, there are people I really hate that work there, but there are way more people that I love that work there. And then there's, besides that, what it does to the industry. I don't want it to fail. I really don't.
Yeah, I
mean, it's tough for me. I'm in the same boat, right? Like, I love the people that work there. I got lots of friends who work on it. I mean, increasingly by the day, they're all getting fired, right? But
yeah, that's true.
You know, but equally, and obviously, there's the huge damage it does to the fucking industry. But then what does the success do to the industry? That this brute force manufactured, you know, duping investors, what does that do to us? You know, like, at this point, I'm really conflicted on the whole fucking thing, honestly.
Yeah, and agreed. And I want to, you know, because for me, it's literally like CGS all over again. When CGS first had their ideas, we were all very supportive. We're all like, oh yes, this is great. This is great. They're hiring some good people. They'll listen to those people. Their product will be authentic, genuine, all those good terms. And they did a couple events, and then the worm turned. We realized what they were really all about, and we turned instantly publicly critical instead of publicly praising. And same thing with Overwatch. Lots of friends there, right? Don't want anyone to lose, any more people to lose jobs, right? Whether they're casters or not, like all sorts of positions. But when it first was announced, I thought it was overblown, too much, to, as Heaton would say, plasticky credit card North American contrived esport product, or however he put it. But overarchingly, I want it to succeed in some regard, because if it doesn't, all these assholes that think esports is everything over here, whereas it's actually a bunch of sports, it will globally impact outside sponsorship, because this will be an esports failure. This won't be a Blizzard Overwatch failure at all.
True.
The industry will have a failure, just like when CGS failed, esports failed. When CXG in Vegas failed, when Click Arena failed, those were not Counter-Strike or event failures. Those were esport failures, and those caused sponsors to go away for years, right? So that's what I am visibly pissed about still, because I'm not seeing like the better side of this. Like, I was critical of it, like going, oh god, I hope this works, but now it's getting worse, right? The product is not improving in my eyes. If anything, it's going worse. Forget the social morality they've decided to interject into their world. And so it in my mind, they will pull I'll go on record to say this will not survive. The Overwatch League will eventually be pulled. The plug will pull. They will never all successfully move to their cities. We will never have 20+ franchises actually playing each other all around the world in this product. It will not happen.